for today's lesson, we are going to learn kung paano mag-compute ng simple interest. But before we proceed with the computations, i-define muna natin some of the terms that we will encounter in this lesson. So first term that we're going to define is the time or term, which is usually denoted by the small letter t. Okay, so time or term is the amount of time in years the money is borrowed or invested. Okay, so second term is the principal, okay, which is denoted with the capital letter P. So principal is the amount of money borrowed or invested on the origin day. So principal is also called as the present value. Okay, so next term is the rate, okay, which is usually denoted by the small letter R. So it is an annual rate, usually in percent, charged by the lender or rate of increase of the investment. Okay, so next term is the interest. So it is denoted by the capital letter I. So it is the amount paid or earned for the use of money. So next term is the simple interest. Okay, simple interest is the interest that is computed on the principal or in the present value or the principal amount and is paid at the end of the loan period. So that's the simple interest. So maturity value or future value, it is the amount after T years that the lenders receive from the borrower on the maturity date. So those are some of the terms that we will encounter, okay, in this lesson. To compute simple interest problems, we need to be familiar with the formulae for simple interest. Now, first formula is the formula for simple interest, and that is I is equal to PRT. So I here stands for the simple interest, P is the principal amount, R is the rate of interest, then T is term or time in years. Okay? There are cases wherein given yung interest pero unknown si principal amount. So to find the principal amount, ang gagawin lang natin is we use this formula, I over RT. So in this case, i-divide lang natin yung interest, yung given na interest, over rate times the time. There are also cases wherein kailangan nating hanapin yung future value. So in that case, ang gagamitin natin na formula is F is equal to P plus I. Dito, ang F natin stands for the maturity value or the future value. You can also use this formula for the future value. F is equal to P times the quantity 1 plus RT. Okay, so this is the commonly used, okay, ito yung commonly used formula to compute for the future value or even the present value. But in this lesson, we are not going to focus on how to compute the present value or the future value, but rather we are going to focus on the computation for the simple interest or the interest. The others will be discussed on the next video. Now let's start with our first example on how to compute interest or simple interest. For our first example, the bank offers 25% annual simple interest rate for a particular deposit. How much interest will be earned if 10,000 pesos is deposited in this savings account for 1 year? So in this problem, okay, ang hahanapin natin dito is the amount of interest. So how much interest, okay? How much interest will be earned if 10,000 pesos is deposited? Okay? So that means, dito sa problem na to, ang goal natin is to solve for the interest or the amount of interest. So, next natin gagawin is to determine ano yung mga given sa problem. Okay? So, in this problem, ang given natin is we have the principal amount, which is 10,000 pesos, which is the amount to be deposited, 10,000 pesos. Then we also have our R, which is the rate of interest, which is 25%. So, ang gagawin lang natin dito is i-convert lang natin to decimal. So, to convert this one to decimal, ang gagawin lang natin is to divide 25 by 100, and that is 0.25, which is the value of our R. Then we also have our T, which is 1 year. Okay? So with this given information, we can now solve for our I, which is the interest. Now, the formula, ang formula na gagamitin natin, again, is I is equal to PRT. So, ang gagawin lang natin is, i-plug in lang natin ang mga given values. So, we have our value of P, which is 10,000 pesos. Then, the value of R, which is 0.25. Then, of course, the value of T, which is equal to 1 or 1 year. Then, ang next natin gagawin dito is, of course, we don't need to manual calculate this one. So, we need to plug this one into our calculator. So, we have 10,000 pesos. Okay, 10,000 pesos times 0.25 times 1, that is equal to 2,500. So that means the interest, okay, the interest is equal to 2,500. So that means for our conclusion, para sa ating conclusion, the interest earned is 2,500 when 10,000 pesos is deposited in the savings account for 1 year. So that's our final answer for example number 1. Now let's proceed to our second example. So dito, how much interest is charged when 50,000 pesos is borrowed for 9 months at annual simple interest rate of 10%. Okay, 10%. So again, ang problem natin dito is to find the interest. Okay, so that means we need to compute what is the amount of interest or the interest. So in this case, first natin gagawin is to identify what are the given in the problem. So in this case, ang given natin dito is, of course, we have the principal amount. Okay, the principal amount of 50,000 pesos, or this is the amount that is being borrowed, okay, for 9 months. So that's our principal amount. And again, we also have the rate, which is 10%. Then i-convert lang natin yan to decimal. So i-divide lang natin si 10 by 100, and that is 0.10. Then of course, we also have the T. Ang T natin dito, take note, is in 9 months. So take note, ang T natin is always in year. So, ang gagawin natin is i-convert natin yan to year. So, to convert 9 months to year, all we need to do is i-divide lang natin si 9 by 12. So, that is 0.75 years. So, that means ang T natin is equal to 0.75. Since we already have this given information, we can now solve for our I, or the interest. Okay? Again, to solve for the interest, we just need to use the formula I is equal to PRT. Okay? So, yung P natin dito is 50,000 pesos. Then, ang value ng R natin is 0.10. Then, ang value ng T natin is 0.75. So, all we need to do is i-plug in lang natin yan sa ating calculator. That is, of course, 50,000 pesos times 0.10 times 0.75, then click equal, that is equal to 3,750. So that means ang interest natin dito, the interest charge is 3,750 pesos. So for our conclusion, the interest earned, okay, the interest charge is 3,750 pesos when 50,000 pesos is borrowed for 9 months. So that's our final answer. Now let's proceed to our third example. So suppose that 10,000 pesos is invested, okay, at 5% simple interest for 5 years. Compute the interest at the end of 5 years. Okay? So again, ang hinahanap natin dito is to compute, okay? To compute the interest. Ang ibig sabihin lang yan is we just need to compute the simple interest. So in this case, first nating gagawin is to identify ano yung mga given sa problem. So of course, we have here the P or the principal amount which is 10,000 pesos. So 10,000 pesos is the amount invested, okay? That's our P. Then we also have our rate, okay? Yung rate natin is 5%. Okay, 5%. So that means i-convert natin yan to decimal. So all we need to do is to, of course, i-divide lang natin yan by 100. And that gives us 0.05, which is the value of our R. Then, of course, we also have the value of T, which is 5 years. Okay? Since meron na tayong given information dito, so we can now solve for our interest or for the I. So again, ang gagamitin natin na formula to solve for the I is the formula for PRT. Okay, I is equal to PRT. So gagawin lang natin is i-plug in lang natin ang ating mga values or mga given values sa ating problem. So value ng P natin is equal to 10,000 pesos. Then value ng R natin is 0.05. Then value ng T natin is equal to 5. So ang gagawin lang natin dito is i-plug in lang natin to sa ating calculator. That is equal to, of course, 10,000 pesos. Okay, 10,000 pesos times 0.05. Okay, times 5. Then click equal. Okay, click lang natin si equal. That is equal to 2,500 pesos. So that means ang interest, okay, ang interest is equal to 2,500 pesos. So therefore, para sa ating conclusion, okay, the interest is 2,500 when 10,000 pesos is invested for 5 years. So that's our final answer. Okay, now let's proceed to our fourth and last example. Okay, so here Mario paid 9,250 on a loan made 6 months before 12% simple interest. Now, find the interest generated. Take note. Again, ang problem natin dito is to find the interest generated. Okay? So, ang next natin gagawin is to identify ano ang mga given sa ating problem. So, in this case, ang given natin dyan ay, of course, we have the future value, which is 9,250 pesos because this is the amount that Maria paid on a loan made for 6 months before 12% simple interest. So that means this is not our principal, but our future value. Of course, we also have the rate of interest, which is 12%. So, ang gagawin lang natin dyan is i-convert natin to the decimal. So, divide natin si 12 by 100, and that is equal to 0.12. And of course, we also have our T, which is in 6 months. Therefore, take note guys, since this is in 6 months, so ang gagawin na natin dito is i-convert natin to year. So, to convert this one to year, so all we need to do is to divide this one by 12. Okay, so that is equal to 0.5 year or 1.5 years. So that's the value of our T. Now, take note, since ang goal natin dito is to solve for the interest. But take note, okay? Take note, we cannot solve for the interest unless meron tayong value ng P or the principal amount or the present value. So in this case, ang una nating gagawin is to solve for the P. So, solve for the P, kailangan natin gagamitin ang formula ni future value. Okay? From this formula ng future value, i-solve natin, okay, ang value, okay, ang value ni P. Now, in this case, ang gagamitin natin to solve for the value of P is equal to F over 1 plus RT. Saan ito kinuha? Of course, dito yan galing sa formula ni future value. So, ang ginawa lang dito is we just need to divide both sides by 1 plus RT para si P na lang ang matira. So, therefore, ang gagamitin natin na formula to solve for the P or the principal amount is F over 1 plus RT. Now, to solve for P, all we need to do is i-plug in lang natin yung ating mga given dyan. So, of course, we have the F, or the future value, which is 9,250, over 1 plus, of course, ang value ng R natin, or the rate, which is equal to 0.12, then multiply it by 0.5. Then, ang gagawin lang natin is i-plug in lang natin to sa ating calculator. So, that is, of course, 9,250, okay, over 1 plus 0.12, okay, times 0.5. Okay, then click equal. Okay, so we need to convert that one to decimal. So that is 8,726.42. Round up kasi ang next ni 1 is 5. So that means kailangan natin i-round up to. So therefore, ang answer natin dyan is 8,726.42. So this is the value of our P. Now, to solve for the I, we are not going to use the usual formula to compute the interest. Okay? Which is I is equal to PRT. Instead, ang gagamitin natin na formula para i-compute natin si interest is this one. Interest is equal to future value minus the present value. So instead of this one, ito ang gagamitin natin. But take note, they are just the same. Okay? So it's up to you kung ito yung gagamitin mo. Okay? The usual formula to compute the interest, or this ones kasi given naman yung future value natin at saka yung ating principal amount. Okay? So, again, to compute the interest, ito yung gagamitin natin. So let's just simply plug in the value of F and the P. So, ang value ng F natin is equal to 9,250 minus 8,726.42. Then, i-plug in natin yan sa calculator. Let's see kung anong answer natin. So, we have here, of course, we have 9,250 minus 8,726.42. Okay, then let's get the decimal form of this one. So we have 523.58 pesos. So therefore, ang interest natin, okay, ang interest natin is 523.58 pesos. Okay, so therefore, para sa ating conclusion, the interest generated, okay, is 523.58 pesos. So that's how you solve the simple interest. Now, for our next lesson, we're going to talk about on how to compute for the present value and the future value. So please don't forget, okay, don't forget to check my next video. See ya!